Hey everyone. If you showed up late to class today, you may have been a little confused by finding the door shut. Uh, this has become a particularly irksome issue in this class that a good half of the class in what is now week 12 of a 15-week semester just can't seem to get to class by 9:30. Guys are constantly running 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, even 15 minutes late to the class, as if the class hasn't started at 9:30 all semester for what is now 3 months worth of classes. Um, this morning, it had occurred to me that the Monday night class, which only meets once a week, I had only asked them to do one drawing Monday night, and then I had them turn in whichever of the drawings they were going to turn in for a grade, just like I told you guys that you'd be doing at the end of this week. So it had occurred to me this morning that it would be additional extra work for you guys that the Monday night class didn't have to do if you had to make a drawing today and then choose which one you were going to turn in. So what I decided was in class this morning, as people were walking in, I said, hey, pick out the drawing you want to turn in for a grade and hand it in, and grab a sheet of this paper I have set out, which will be for the homework. And there'll be a video explaining that homework. That's the video you're watching now. And you're good to go. And I was there until 9:34 before I actually left the classroom. Uh, there were a few students who came in before that time, and I got their drawings. As I was about to leave, two of you got lucky and walked up at that very moment. So you got yours in, and then the rest of you I just didn't see. Um, so if I were in your shoes, I would try to come by at some point and give me whatever drawing it is that you want to turn in for whatever in-class drawing it is you want to turn in for a grade, as well as come by at some point so that you can get that white paper that you were supposed to have gotten for the homework assignment. And maybe for these last 3 weeks that we have left of class, show up to class on time. I hate to come across as an asshole about it, but it's a serious problem. The two of you who were lucky enough to get in just as I was leaving, imagine if I had left seconds earlier. All right, guys, get to class on time. It's not something that should be that difficult. If there's some sort of hardship that's keeping you from getting to class on time, why haven't you talked to me about it by now? We are in week 12. All right. Now, that all that said, let me talk about the homework then. Put my screen share on. All right. So the homework assignment is to do an exterior with objects. Right, this is going to be done in that same 3-step process that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, the unfinished to finished. You're going to draw an exterior with objects in it, right? An outdoor view with objects that define the space, like a parking lot with vehicles, a fenced-in patio with furniture, sidewalk with parking meters, etc. It shouldn't be like a big open field with nothing in it. There needs to be stuff, some stuff that's close, some stuff in the middle ground, and some stuff that's like way off in the distance. Use freehand perspective, and of particular importance is line variation to heighten the illusion of 3 dimensions and the deeper space of an exterior versus a still life. Now, what I mean by that? Well, in the class, you've been drawing from still lives. Those still lives, what? At most, maybe you have 2 or 3 feet of depth. right? When it comes to your space. And so it's not that difficult. Well, not that difficult. It doesn't take as great of a variety of lines to showcase and indicate that small amount of depth. When you're drawing from an exterior, you have things that may be very close to you, and you may have some things that are hundreds of feet away from you. How do you use line variation in a way that makes that relationship of distance very obvious? Your materials. This time around, you can use your graphite or your charcoal pencils. It's still the 2, 4, and 6B, whichever one you should choose. And it mentions the good quality white paper that was provided by me. If you don't have it, come and see me. Because even if you weren't there to get it today, I'm expecting it. And so if it is on the wrong paper when you turn it in, that will affect your grade. So come see me, preferably before Tuesday's class, to get that paper. All right. Now, I get that it's cold and that going outside to draw is not always the most desirable thing to do at this time of year. This assignment came along back when this was a class that was offered in the spring semester rather than in the fall. Rather so, I don't mind if you work from inside looking out a window if you need to for this particular assignment. That's perfectly fine. I get that. All right, so some examples. All right, so we have this student here with this this drawing of an exterior, who would have gone through all 3 steps of the process like we've been doing in class as well, and then thought about the wide variety of line types that they would need to give us indication that, say, this little vehicle right here is very close to us. So the lines around it are really nice, dark, and thick, versus the lines of the fence just behind it, a little less so, versus the tree and these buildings just behind it, a little bit less so. And then we get out here to these trees, and we have a tree with really nice, thin, crisp lines. We have a couple where it looks like the student took an eraser to it, and we have some in the very far distance where it looks like they'd left their gestural marks as they were doing the first step. And let that be the indication that that tree is really, really far away. This student, this is when I was working at Memphis College of Art, and this student chose to draw on the campus of Rhodes College. They were dating someone on who went to Rhodes, I want to say, and they decided to work in graphite. Hence why you can tell a big difference between the darkness of the two. But still, like, because it was graphite, it allowed them to get this building that is the furthest building away really nice and thin and crisp with the line work. And then up close, right, getting these, I mean, they can't never get it as dark as the charcoal could get it, but using that 6B, they gave themselves some really nice dark lines to indicate this is up really close. They look like these really thick, dark lines around this right here, which is the closest thing to us. And then how those lines, as we go along, these boards here, those lines start off really dark and then trail and become thinner and thinner as we get that distance, right? And then again, compare that to this portion of the building just immediately behind it. Compare that to the trees in the distance where they just left their gestural marks that were really light. And that gives a sense of that being much further away than this is, right? I should really take this one out of my examples. It's not the best example when it comes to line variation. Like the window is the closest thing to us, and yet there are objects out there that have darker lines around them. And then like there's this tree which is pretty close to us and should have some nice dark lines, but this building that's even further away has darker lines than it does. But I keep it in because I like to show that I don't mind if you work from a window looking outdoors. But if you do, think more analytically about your line variation. And there's this student working on their balcony. There's perspective issues happening with it. No biggie. Like the two lines of this and this line, the two lines of this here aren't going to meet in the right place. And there's some perspective issues with that, but what I like is their use of line variation. And even deciding to put like this shirt here so they could have like one more object defining the space and this plant as well. These nice dark lines around what's closest to us, and then look at how we get to this, say, this building here where the lines are a little bit thinner and crisper, and then this one over here that feels like they may have even gone over it a little bit with their eraser. You may note that there are some pretty straight lines here. I don't mind if you have a scenario where you're going to need some good straight lines. I don't mind if for the finished line work, in that second step, if you use a ruler to get those lines straight. But when you're working in that initial step, continue to work in that unfinished to finished, continue to work in that gestural manner. You can see this person with their 2B sort of scrubbing around, trying to find that angle, right? Scrubbing around down in here, looking for that angle. But then when they put the more finished line work on top of it, they came in with a ruler, and I'm fine with that for this particular assignment. This student, I gave them a hard time because I thought they had drawn an interior, but they swore to me that this was the staircase on the outside of their apartment building. That's okay, fine. But look at again the line variation, these dark, thick lines around objects that are closer to us, and how they become thinner and crisper as they move away. Particularly these rails here, how they start off dark, and then as the line gets pulled down, they lift up, and that line becomes nice and thin and crisp. They used rulers as well to get their line work for the walls and things of that nature, and that's perfectly fine by me. All right. So that's homework due on Tuesday. Again, I don't mind if you work from a window looking out, especially if the weekend happens to be cold, like it is currently as I'm recording this. But still, when you get to that third and final step in these drawings, I want you really thinking analytically, critically, what have you, about how you can create a sense of the extreme depth of an exterior versus the depth of your still life that you've been doing, right? How are you going to give us that indication that things are much, much, much deeper than that? All right. That done. Let me stop my share. With that done, again, I know I had that big gripe session at the beginning of this video, but seriously, I'm really honestly getting sick of it. And starting Tuesday, like 3 minutes, I'm going to give maybe about a 3-minute window after class starts, and then I'm closing that door because I'm tired of people walking in late, either while I'm in the middle of talking or people have already started drawing, and now you walk in and I have to re-explain things to you. I keep that projection up on the screen that explains everything that you need to do in order to get ready. And there's a good number of you that after I have turned that screen off so that I can start talking about whatever it is I need to talk about for the class, you walk in, that's no longer up there, and now I'm having to explain that again. I'm done with that, quite frankly, because it's week 12 of a 15-week semester. We have 3 weeks left. I'm going to start closing and locking that door, and if you come knocking, I'm sorry. It's long enough. We have been going long enough now that you know that the class starts at 9:30. And again, if you have some sort of hardship that keeps you from showing up at 9:30, tell me that. You should have told me that a long time ago, but tell me that so that we can make it work. All right. Take care. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Bye.